Hey guys, it's David here. Hopefully you can hear me. So here I am at the studio in Mchenry. This is where I teach on Saturday mornings, and I've always wanted to do a scene here. And the scene that I want to do is this scene right here. This is the front of the studio. This is the entrance and the exit. And so there's always, depending on how the lighting is, and actually my camera you can tell the lighting is going back and forth, so you can see not see my face and then see my face. But anyways. So this is the scene I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I've taken several pictures of it many times, and I've never sat down here. And I thought, I was going to do a plein air, but I want to do an interior, this interior right here, and this is a live shot right now. This is what it is, and there's no like in the afternoon when the sun's on the other side of the building, and it comes through the window. The sun comes through the window, and I kind of like that view better than this one. So what I'm going to do is I remember kind of where it was, and I'm going to use that image, and that's in the front here. Remember when you're coming in here, this image right here. Hold on. This nope, not that image. Oh, the other one. So I don't have that image with me, but it has on the floor there is shadowing, and so I'm going to show you that how to put like sunlight coming through the windows because that looks really cool. I mean, it looks nice now, and I could put reflections in the ground, but I just like the fact when the sun brightens up so much and you can't see outside the windows, and so that's what we're going to do. And I was going to do it with my easel, like plein air, but hey, the studio has all these tables in there already, so I might as well just use them. I figure it's easier to, paint like this straight up and down. And so this view up in the upper right corner is a live shot of the studio. So if somebody comes in, you'll see they're coming right into this door, right in the top there. And see, I drew in the shadows from the door, and I'm gonna make those light, and so that'll be kind of fun. I could put that as a reflection and not have the sun coming in, but see right now how the windows are almost like white with the camera. So the windows I can see out, but do I really want to show all that out there? And not really. And so there's probably a lot of cars driving by that hopefully you probably can't see because again, it's kind of blurred out because of the camera picks up the lights and is actually picking up the darks in the room. And see how the floor is kind of bluish and light, and that if the floor would be really shiny, then you could use that also. And that's kind of a neat thing to do too. But I'm going to show you a way of doing it with the sunlight. And so basically everything that's light and I'm pretty I've been watching this morning because this is the first time I've done a Sunday morning in a long time. But when you see it later on, I'm going to show you how to make most of this. This is white light area, right? This area here, all the windows are light. Now there's a little bit of, the subject matter outside. How important is that? So I'm just going to take my brush and make it gray. I'm just going to kind of put in really lightly, just like a reflection of what those objects are out there. Because I don't want to make it like it is when I'm looking, because otherwise that would be just as dark as inside the building. And if I do that, then it doesn't look like the outside is light. That's my only light. My light is going to be the lights on the floor and my lights there. And everything else that even if it looks light inside here, is going to be my dark. Even it's a middle tone, and there may be some little hints of light in there, but those are my big lights, my big light areas. So I don't want to get them too dark. And so what I do is I'm going to take like a lavender. I'm going to start with a lavender. And it's probably going to reflect a little bit here, but that's okay. I'm just going to put in, there's a tree across the street. I'm going to put this in really light. And I can go over this because everything else besides the windows are going to be dark. There's going to be, this is actually a plant on the inside. There's a tree right there, and there's a bunch of stuff going on in here. So you can just almost like fake it back there too. Just fake a little bit of gray or lavender. You can make it light blue too. You can make it even more gray. The building across the street has red trim on it. I'm not going to do that again because why? Because then it comes forward. It feels like it's inside the studio. And this is in Mchenry, Illinois. So if you're ever up in Mchenry, Illinois, stop by the studio. It's in the art school, and they do pottery, and they also sell Annie Sloan paints, and super nice place. And this is where I started about, I don't know, boy, it's been about, I think maybe 12 years ago. And I did paint parties here for basically with Lucy and Chuck, and we used to do them every Friday. Friday. Now she's doing them again. Just I'm not doing them though. It's not me because I'm just way too busy to do them anymore. And so, but they still have the paint parties. So if you want to come here for a paint party, and they have children's classes and my watercolor class on Saturday morning. This is where it is, right in this building. And so, and you don't even have to call the studio up. And I am using that terrible board again, but I'm just gonna, that's all I had to say. Oh, I wanted to tell you too, that I'm making this a large size. This is 16 by 20, because in 2 weeks when I get over to the plein air event in Easton, Maryland, the Easton plein air, I want to paint big. And so I'm going to try to do some 12 by, this is 16 by 20. So I'm probably not going to finish this completely 16 by 20 because that's very big. You know, look at my hands compared to the thing. So I usually do 11 by 14, which is like this size, right? So this one is going to be big, nice and big. All right, so there's my lights and maybe my floor, a little bit of my floor here. And that's the outside. That's the outside. And here I'm gonna put a little bit of the light on the floor. The things on the tables will be a little bit bright. And so right away, I will go with my mediums and darks, which if I look right now, because it's in the morning and you can see that picture right now, right here, this picture right here. See upper left, upper right, I mean, that right there is going to be, that's going to be my darks, right? They're my middle tones. And there are some lights, and there's a chandelier that's on right now. And actually, you can't see that, can you? The chandelier, look up there. Oh, I gotta go back to my focus, my thing. And so here, see, that's the chandelier on. I turned the chandelier on, but everything except for the windows and the chandelier right now. And then the light that's hitting the first part of the wall right here, the wall when it comes in, that'll be light too because the light is hitting right there. So I'm going to take my big brush, go with my big brush, and just start, look for a path. Look for a path so you don't have to stop. Like you don't want to go back and forth. You want to go, probably going to go, let's see, all these, all this stuff on these shelves, all the ceramics on these shelves, that's going to be all the same. And when I do my light and middle tone, and so let me go from this part right here, this top of the table, because it's all kind of dark. I'm just going to wet it. And since this is that bad board, and I keep on talking about, sorry, I keep on using it, but I'm going to have to get a bunch of it, and sooner or later I have to call them. And so I'm going to make this a middle tone. The tabletop is also silver. It's a stainless steel tabletop, but it's going to reflect some of this light in there. But it's the walls are kind of beige, right? Kind of beige, and so I can use a little bit of beige with a little violet to make it darker. And I'm wetting it as I go along. You notice I'm not wetting the whole thing like I do with the sky. And then there's a painting up here, one of the paint party paintings. And so I'm gonna put a little warmth in here too, a gray, but see, it's a middle tone. The ceiling is actually blue in here, and so I'm gonna put a little bit of grayish blue into that. And how do you gray blue? Orange, orange and blue make a gray, right? Or green if you use the yellow, the yellow orange. Use the other orange, and so that's gonna be kind of a blue. Oh, that's the light, and so I want to kind of go around the light. And this is dark. The ceiling's dark, so I want to kind of get it pretty dark right away. I don't want to sneak up on it. I want to get it right away dark. And I'm using my outdoor plein air palette, which I'm going to try to start using for everything because you got to get used to a palette and don't switch your palettes around over and over and getting all kinds of different palettes. So this is the ceiling. If you have questions, I'm watching. Hey Karen. So you gotta go down a little bit here. Okay. So ask questions. There are Lucy hangs a lot of Lucy's the owner, by the way. Lucy Tunyon's the owner of the studio, and it's been in existence probably like 4 or 5 years before I showed up. Um, but she teaches children's classes here, and then I teach my watercolor class here, and there's a pottery guy, and he teaches pottery with the wheels, and they have the potter's wheel. Again, this is in Mchenry, Illinois, Northern Illinois. And so these are little butterflies or some kind of flying things she has. Yeah, I'll show you what, see, there's a, right there, and she got all kinds of things hanging on the ceiling. It's really kind of cool. She always has all those neat things in there. And so, let's get my wire out of my paint. So why am I doing the darks right now? Because my lights are pretty much done. I mean, my lights, and so this is my pretty much my middle tones and darks. And this way I can show the bright sunlight coming in there by doing all these middle tones and darks. And I do the lighter parts of the middle tones first, and then I go from there to the darks. And see, I stopped right here because I could, because we got this big flying object up there. And that's my darkest parts are going to be this chair and some of the roof here. So I'm trying to get that in there right now. I'm just going to go through here. Remember I said that from the light to dark, and so I'm going to just gradate this. I'm not going to work objects. I'm not working small objects right now. I'm working the whole room. I'm working the whole room to get the whole room to look the interior. I'm getting the whole interior kind of filled up with my middle tones and lights and my darks, some of my darks, but not my dark details. I'm just going to get the big areas. And now again, this is a big sheet of paper. This is 16 by 20, so that's kind of big for plein air painting, um, especially for me. I mean, I never once used something this big. And most of the biggest I've gone outside is 12 by 16 or 14 by 18. Yeah, I think 14 by 18 is the biggest I've used so far. So I just wanted to see if I could do this when I get there in Easton, Maryland. So I'm practicing again. Like, remember, I've been just constantly telling everybody practice, practice, practice. And so let's practice this stuff. Now here's a little bit of purple in here. And if I look up there right now, it's really dark. Really dark right here. And actually, I just covered over the light again. That should have been darker than the light. That's the light right there. Shoot. Talking too much and not thinking. So what do? Let's just take this paint out here a little bit and make it darker around the light and just make this, it's kind of pinkish. This little creature is pinkish here, so I'm just gonna put some pink in there and make it darker than this light. And I'll use white later on to put the light back in there. And I'm being kind of messy because I don't want this to be a photographic image of this. I want this to look like a really neat painting of this scene. And so that meaning that it should look like a watercolor. And like the studio, but it's not a photograph of the studio. I don't want a photograph of the studio. I already taken tons of photographs of this place. I just want to have like a nice painting that I will donate to the studio if she wants it. So I'm just gonna go right here. This is gonna be the sun. Again, this has got to stay light, right? Yes, keep those parts light. And then I'm just gonna take and do some of these darks over the windows. And this part right here, the blue goes down it, and so it gets nice and dark right here too. And actually, the ceiling, it should make it even darker than what it is right now. Because in that way it'll make the lights look brighter. It'll make the lights in the windows like you're looking through the windows. That looks then really nice and light. And this right here will be a dark against the light, but this will be light against the dark. If you have any questions, please ask. And even if this has already been not live anymore and you're seeing it, just put it in the comments section. And so I'm just putting this all in there. And yes, this board is terrible, but that's okay. We're not going to talk about that today. We've talked about that enough. I'm getting a really bright, look at that. That's like a marine blue. I have a bunch of outdoor colors that I have in my palette here that are like separate from my Prussian blue, and I'm just testing things out. And this is a palette I want to get made one of these days. It's a palette where I can maybe switch these all around and switch them out. This is right now, that's some Verditer blue. Again, I'm going over the ceiling because it's the darkest part. It comes kind of goes down here. And it lightens lighter, right? We're just going to have it lighten lighter. And then I go down here. And as it goes back away from the windows, it's going to be darker. And that way it shows the brightness of the, when I do the floor and I leave the lights on the floor, that'll be the shadow part. Kind of making a gray with purple, purple and orange, make it a nice gray, brown. Again, don't use the yellow orange. I keep on going to the yellow orange. Go into the red orange, that way it makes it more gray. What was I just going to use this for? Oh, I was going to do this door. Maybe a little bit blue in there. Just going to go in here and get the door. It's in the shadow, and the outside is light. And I'm not being really super careful with it because again, I don't want it to be so tight. This is kind of like a color sketch. I want to make it look very, very painterly. And these plants are inside here. But they are darker. Or this one's lighter, but I'm just gonna use, I did bring my gouache. I have my gouache right next here, see? I just have no room for it right into the palette, otherwise I can't mix anywhere. So I'll put it right over here. When I use it, I'll put it in there. There's all these neat objects on here, all these ceramics, and there's this boat, this old boat she has up there. Top of this, maybe it's a little bit darker. I'm trying to do a little bit of the Chin Chang way. I'm trying to be a little bit like him, making soft edges when you're doing his interiors. He did one of the Salagumdi Club in New York when it for AWS of AWS Library. Oh my gosh, that thing is like the most beautiful painting I've ever seen. Look up AWS and the award winners. I think he won an award for it this year. Just look it up. It's a gorgeous painting. And so now I have a lot of this is a lot of cool. So I'm gonna try to get some warmth in here now as I come forward. I'm gonna get warmth, and even in the floor, I get a little bit of warmth from the lighting. It's not incandescent, but you can still add a little bit of warmth to the darks when you come towards me. When I come towards myself here. And I'm going to go right through all the objects and just do the shadowing. So let's do the floor, kind of grayish. It's cement floor, right? And so we wanted the kind of grayish, but I want to do a little bit warmer. So I'll put a little bit of orange in there. So let's go right through the table legs and just go right here. And this is going to have to be made up a little bit because it's not that way right at the moment. But I do that a lot when I'm plein air painting even. If I think I want like a sunset and the sun is not in the right spot like we did on Thursday, I will move the sun. I will move the sun to where I want it to be. And then I just, I mean, I did that for many, many years as an illustrator and just making up all my scenes. So if I have it there, but I just want to move things, I can do that instantly and easily. I'm going to draw this through here. So I'm drawing the shadows. This is the shadow part, and it can be really any color, but I'm going to try to make it warm in the front here and lighter in the front, the shadow, and make it lighter in the front. Why? Because it's well, actually, because there's lit up, this part is lit up real light, and as it comes back, it gets darker and not as much light, right? It's not away from the thing, which is really weird because a lot of times I was thinking that the closer the object is to where it's being reflected, that's usually darker, and as it goes away in nature, it gets lighter, and fuzzier basically. But there's always, there's exceptions to the rules. There's always exceptions to the rules. And a lot of times it's artistic license that lets you do those things. If you feel like it looks better a certain way and it's maybe wrong when it comes to how you were taught, that's okay. Try it, see if it works. The best of them, we all break rules. We all are designing our own kind of painting style, and you're breaking rules all the time. But usually you only do that once you established how to paint the exact medium that you're using. After that, yeah, go ahead and just break as many rules as you can. You guys still with me? Let's see how many we've got here. Oh, 8 of you. Oh, thanks for stopping by this morning. And so let's just keep on going. And I'm probably not going to finish this one because it's a lot bigger than I normally paint, but maybe I will because I'm going to try to do large areas and try to get it done as fast as possible. And if these things float. Now there's a nice green chair here, like a olive green chair right in the front here. I'll make it turquoise because that's a big color right now that I'm really into is turquoise. And since the ceiling is blue and all these other things are kind of um, blue, I put a lot of blue in this. Might as well just put some other blues and put some of the other blue in there too. And this is a really dark chair, so it'll be when I get into my dark details, I will still put that in there pretty dark. I always like to put a little bit of violet into the green too to dull it down a little bit. And you notice I'm not doing detail of the chair, I'm just doing the overall shadow part of the chair. And this shadow right here, this thing should be shadowing it right here too. So let me put a shadow in there. Should have done that right away. So that would be that. See, let's see. So the window's shooting this, that's the door, and then this should be kind of like that. Because I think this object right here is in the dark. Yeah, even if I look at the object, and I mean the sun is not coming in, but the light's coming in, so these things are what you call it, in silhouette, in dark silhouette shapes. And then there's gonna be shadows on top of this desk. This is the leg of the chair of the desk in front. Then we do the side of this. Now the top of this is light because it's shining. It's shining the light as I look right now. So I'm kind of combining it where the sun's not coming in, but the light's coming in. Well, it's kind of the same thing, right? But no, it's not direct sunlight that's coming in. It's just light, diffused light that's coming in. I'm gonna put this right at this back of this is out of the sunlight direction. So this would be out of would be dark. Right now it's lit up because again it's not direct sunlight, it's diffused sunlight coming into the studio right now. But like I said, you do what you do. I always try to make my painting look better than what is up there. I try to do a lot with lighting. I like to have lighting to look and make my watercolors look exciting because I think when it's just overcast, this is basically overcast right now because there's no direct sunlight coming in here. So I'm using local color of the objects to create my shapes. But instead of that, I decided to make this sun coming in, blasting in. And I had a lot of photos of this like this way, and I've been studying them. And once you practice enough and you do things enough, you don't always have to think and look. You can just make it up. You can make things. I tell my students a lot of times we're doing these exercises, and I've got a book coming out hopefully soon, next year probably, that teaches you how to memorize objects and then you draw them after you memorize it. So I've been doing that in class lately. I've been having them study an object and then having them draw it right after they studied it, and then I take it away and then you have to draw it. And again, it's going to be another warm day because it's pretty warm in here. I didn't open a door and I don't want to turn on the air conditioning for just me. And so, if I, well, you don't see me, so that doesn't matter then. I guess it doesn't matter at all. So here, this will be nice and dark. Get this a little bit warmer again. This is actually a red desk over here. I don't know if you can see that desk even in the picture. Red desk. Good morning, Josh. Good morning, Cindy and Karen. Like I said, I was going to do an outside plein air object, but I've been wanting to do this for so long. I decided, you know what, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to come in here and I was also thinking of doing it big, and so I want to see how it is big, but I'm not working on my easel, which I've got to actually do that too, because I've got to see if it'll even hold on to my easel that big. 16 by 20, I've never worked this large outside with my easels, and so there was a table, three tables right here, and I thought, well, you know what, let's just use the table. When it comes to painting, painting flat or watercolor is actually the best, but when I'm painting outside with my easel, I am painting kind of on an angle. And I'll have plenty of time to paint outside when I get to the event, the plein air event. I've been doing that for the last month, and so it's wonderful. I love painting outside. I've been really getting to like it a lot. Now, this is a desk, or this is a table. It's a marble tabletop, and it's shiny, so that would be light. This is a window. Can I separate these two things out a little bit by just making one darker than the other? And see, the darks are the shadows, and they're all combined together. And then that shows you your light. And so see how I already have like a look of light coming through? And now I'll do the door. The door is a blue door. It's changed from a red door. It used to be a red door, I think at one point. It's a blue, dark blue door. And so let's just make that happen. Let's see. All right, so let's do this door dark blue. But I'm going to try to also make sure that I have other colors in that blue. I'll make it violet, and because it's going to be my darkest dark right here. A little bit of blue, lighter blue. And I let my paints float so that it looks nice and fluid, like a watercolor should. And there's a close sign on there, but I'm going to keep that off, that sign. I'm just going to put this like this. I use a flat brush when I'm working with things that are rectangular shape and squared, and because that's I can make it instantly by just the brush it. Now I should be using my smaller one, so you can just go downwards with it. Do that then. So this is my 1/4 inch, and so I'll just take that I gotta learn to clean my brushes a little bit better. So we'll put this down here. I'll make some nice colors, and I can just go, and I can even, if I want them straight, I could even use a straight edge like this and hold it, put it where it's kind of like sitting up, and then I just kind of go like this. If I want a really straight line, which I really don't need that in this, but see how straight I can get it? Some people don't. Some people who are architects, they like to, I think, make their things really, really tighter and nice and straight. That's what they were taught at. They were taught to make things nice and straight and direct. Some people have styles that are very loose that don't have it anything close to being really tightly straight, and that's fine too. And since the background, the trim actually is lighter, but it's not blue like this, but I'm taking liberties again. And this is the side of the door, so that, let's make that a little more violently orange. Again, stop using the yellow orange, use the red orange. And I'll put that in here. There's the side of the wall here. Same thing here. And put a little bit of warmth into this by just adding water and letting it floating on top of the blue. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. You have a little bell, a little sailboat bell up there. Let's throw some shadow there. This is an iPad for there's transactions. And a bigger brush again because I just noticed I forgot this part. And I'm gonna keep this part right here my most intense because again, that's my center of interest. This area right here, your entrance. I'm probably gonna call this enter and exit the studio. That's has an exit sign right there too. So I'm thinking enter exit. That'll be the title maybe. Enter exit. It's good to kind of title it when you're actually working on it because then you get good ideas, like of things that you're painting or you see an exit sign or afterwards it's like, you're not that into it and so you're just making up like inside the studio, it's like it's not as clever as enter exit or something like that. What time is it here? Okay. Half an hour. We can get this maybe not totally detailed, all the totally detailed, but pretty much the big parts we can get that done. There's a lot of stuff in the studio here, right? But does that mean you have to put every single thing in there and detail everything? No, not at all. You want to go in and get the main lighting, which I've already done, right? I mean, it looks like the sun's coming in there already, right? So that's pretty much done then. And then we can just start doing smaller and smaller objects and areas as we go along. This is inside, the things inside here, and I'm just going to make it darker and darker. So I'm negative painting parts of the shelf because they're dark. And then this way in behind here is darker. Little by little it comes along and you get more and more done as you're going along. And I'm not a rush painter, like I don't try to rush it. When I do my videos, I never want to rush it and just go fast. I want to get the objects done. And if I'm doing one object, I kind of want to get done right then and there. Like I don't ever want to go back to that spot right there. And so just get the right color, get the right object of shape, and then just put it down and leave it. Then you're done. And don't leave that area until you feel it's what you want it to be too. Like I'm making this a little bit warmer because I need some warmth in here. And not even the fact that it's there or not, it doesn't matter. Some people are like, well, it doesn't look like that. I go, well, no, because it doesn't, but I want to maybe put some warmth in that area to create the center of interest. So not always does it have to look like exactly like what you see there to capture what you're doing as a painter. Because sometimes, like I'm doing this shadow, and it looks totally different than this right in live here. But there's a lot of artists that do that I've seen out there where they change the colors, like with the lime green that I was watching Richie Vios do this one scene, and he doesn't use any of the lime green that's actually out there. It's too, especially in an area where you don't want it to your eye to go. You can't. You don't want to do that. And actually, this should be darker, and so it's got a little bit light. So a little bit later, I'm going to re-wet that to show you how you can then go back in and make that dark again, darker. Here's inside the shelf is a little darker. A little shadowing for the objects. Let's see. I'm still going to try to get the bigger stuff. There's a nice. This is going to be a nice green plant, but it's in the shadow. It's silhouetted kind of, and so I'm going to make it a light green in some spots, but the rest is going to be dark. Well, actually, that's not very light at all, right? So get some parts that are lighter. I'm using it pretty thick right now so that it's going to really show and that it's more opaque than it is transparent. So I'm using the watercolor right now like it would be gouache, like kind of thick. Just making these little nice, nice plant. It's like a tropical looking plant. Then the vase is kind of grayish, so I'm just going to go in there with the gray. Bring it down and throw the shadow right away. See how it's not super, super detailed, but it does explain what it is right there. And as long as you explain a little bit of what it looks like, that's enough. There's another plant right here. This is like a rubber tree thing. And actually this one on here, it's on this table. But so I'll make it kind of dark green. Again, kind of silhouetted. I usually like to put the stems in going into the thing and then just do the succulent plant, right? Almost seems like a really dark, thick plant, like an aloe vera type of plant. Listen to me like I know what I'm talking about. I have no idea. There's a plant on the outside of the building across the street that I was asking everybody in class yesterday what that was because my mom has one of those that is it looks like a fern, not fern, but it's like yeah, like a fern, but then it has the white flowers that come out top, and I don't think they come out every year. If you have one or two of those plants, so I'm just now putting in kind of dark details. Here's our little sailboat bell. And it's it's time now for me to do details because I'm getting all my big ones already, everything's already done for the big parts. And now I can get the dark details. Little by little, you just put them in and test them to other parts of your painting. Like I look at other parts of my painting and find out where that dark has, how dark does that area have to be. So my center of interest is here, and this is probably the secondary interest as you're coming forward. I don't want to get this part too, well, this table right here, I want to get a little bit darker too to bring it forward, but maybe just this leg here, and maybe not quite as dark as it is. And it's also metal, so it's shiny, but do I really care if it's really that shiny? Not really. I might put white paint in there afterwards too. And then this has like, it's not wood, it's a stainless steel table, so it's not going to be very thick. Just the top here is a little darker. Probably should do this floor first, because that is a big area. Let me do that really quick. Otherwise, I might have to not go, have to go around everything. So let me just go around this right now, re-wet this area. And see how I'm re-wetting the area and it'll still be fine. It'll still be great. You know, I don't have to worry about it like being my second wash. As long as I re-wet and lay it on top and let it float. That's my big thing. Float your pigment. As long as the pigment's floating on top of the paper, and some of it'll soak in, but it's just I want it darker there. And I want it a little bit warmer, and maybe a little bit of cooler blue as it goes away. I'm not sure. Let's see. Maybe darker over here. Let's see. That's the. You can experiment too while it's wet. You can put it in, take it out, because it's wet, and so you have enough time. You can pull out pigment. See, I can just pull out. I can push it around until it's dry. You have plenty of time to sit there and play with it, push pigment around that puddle of water. And if you want to take some stuff out, like watch, if I take it out like this, I can take it a little bit out. I can push back in. So it's nice to be able to do that too. And you can do that with watercolor, which a lot of people think you can't do anything afterwards, but you definitely can. Hey Judy, hey Gigi, good morning. We got a little bit of coffee here. And again, looks complicated because it's so big, but I'm still painting like I normally do with my small stuff, right? With the smaller paintings. I'm just simplifying. I'm trying to simplify areas too. And so this part right here should be nice and dark. Oh, I thought that was Lucy for a second, the owner. She has a car kind of close to that. Let's go back to my vision here. Let's see. Okay, this side has to be darker now. So I got to go in there and okay, these shelves, and then we have these shelves, and it goes down. Top of the shelf could be, or the table could be a little bit darker. I kind of want to make a warmth to this side here. Just a little bit warmer. When I say warmer, I just pick up a warm color. You know, just nothing blue, nothing cool, nothing gray. I just pick up a warmth, a warm color, usually red, orange, or yellow to make it a little bit warmer. I still want to keep it to where it looks very loose. Kind of looks loose, but it shows what's happening, what objects are. It's not important to do the corner here and make it detailed because then you're going to look at it too much and it's a corner. So why do you want people to look at the corner of your painting? And that's when you would not put a bright color in there either. That's where I learned like why Richie Rios doesn't use the lime green is because why would you use lime green? And then everybody looks at that area and you really don't want anybody to look at that area, especially like in certain parts of your painting, in the corners and the sides where you're not wanting people to look. Let's see, this shouldn't be a line right there because it's not. I have to rub that out there. That should be going underneath there. Oh, I thought it was a table. So I'm just going to wipe that out. Or put white paint in there later. I did put some white paint on my palette so I can add white paint on top of things to make it bright. And I have no problem with that. You know, a lot of people don't like to do that, but I'm actually trying to develop a style where I do that a lot. Because I actually kind of like the look of that. The questions keep on going down. Good morning, Mary Beth. Now I'm looking at my ceiling. It's pretty blue, right? I mean, it is that blue. but it's a little bit taking away from some other things. So I'm gonna dull it down a little bit. So I'll put a little bit of reddish orange across it to dull it and make parts up here darker and warm some parts of it up. You can go over spots. You can even use black if you wanted to. I keep on dipping into that one, but I don't remember what some of these are. Excuse me. That's a green. So I don't want that. Oh, here we go. Here's the blue. This ultramarine blue. I'll mix that with a little orange. I'll get me a beautiful gray. I get a nice dark, and I get my lighting back. And she's got this right here is dark, but then there's a blue. And this lighting goes up to here. So you see a little bit of the front of that light. So that's actually a light, the light fixture. And so I'm gonna have to put white there because I didn't do that right in the beginning. See how the duller blue now looks more natural when you put some gray in there to make it, because things are not as bright as we tend to make them as watercolors. The watercolors tend to think that you have to put really bright colors everywhere, but then that defeats the purpose of having it look realistic. You kind of want it to look more realistic and then add more of the color that's actually there. And it's not like this is not really bright certain parts. It's gray. There's a lot of gray in nature. Let's see, this is just blurred. I don't want to have you see everything that's happening here. I just want it blurred to focus again in the center here. And now, should I make this chair darker or this side back here darker? I'm gonna make this side back here because if the sun is hitting there, that would be darker. And this could be maybe lighting from back here. Let me make this a little bit darker. So those are the kind of decisions you got to make sometimes when you're painting and you're faking it and you're making it a little bit different. You got to ask yourself where light is coming from. If it's one is darker, one's lighter. You just have to figure it out on your own. And hopefully you know how lighting works, the lighting and by practicing a lot, that's what you learn. How things work in nature and how the more painting you do, because you've looked at it enough. And if I look there now, and it's a little bit out of my vision, it is darker. But this chair is really dark right there, so let's do that. Let's take some black and green, and so I'm just gonna darken this up a little bit here. Not that I'm gonna make it really tight, this chair, but just enough to give the shape. I want to give the shape to make it look like the top, the bottom, how it's bulging out, the material. This chair was painted with anti-slum paint, so it has a little bit of a matte to it, but there's a little bit of a shine when you wax it, when you wax the paint. That's where I get the wax from for plein air painting. For my watercolors is cold wax. They use that for this furniture, the anti-slum furniture paint. This is nice and dark. This right here is stainless steel, so there should be more reflection in there. But I don't do that now. I do that later. I'll do that later when I have white paint, and I'll put white paint in there. Okay, I'm softening things up a little bit here and there. And since this again is the same value, so I gotta make one different from the other. So I'm gonna make the background in there a little bit darker. Oh, I keep on going. I gotta really figure this palette out, where the purples are, and So if you constantly use different palettes, you forget where things are on your palette. So not a good idea to switch palettes and try to have an inside palette, outside palette. Just have them all the same. Makes it a lot easier when you go to find your paints and the colors that you want that you already use. But I've been trying to make this palette for years now, and I did talk to somebody at Jerry's Artorama, and I may have to call them again and see if they have any idea if they're going to make something like that. Because she took measurements and she actually was asking me all kinds of things, so that may happen. We'll see. How much time do we have? I haven't even looked at the time. Oh, 10 minutes. All right, let's hurry up a little bit here. Now we will hurry a little bit to try to get a little bit more advanced or a little bit more done. Farther come along. And make this my center of interest, so I'm going to work on this part to get this looking really nice and a little bit detailed. So the chandelier would be fun. And it's basically silhouetted against the light, so I'm going to use like a small round brush, which I don't even have a small round brush here except for my rigger, so oh well, I'll use a rigger. Even though it's white, and it is going to be white up here, that's where I'll use paint, the white paint. But here, use that old, really neat looking chandelier that Lucy put some of the Annie Sloan paint on. Make it a little bigger. And I'm not doing it so detailed that every single thing you can see in there is exact. I'm just getting the basics of it. Oh, that's the stuff on the shelf. That's wrong here. So but it can still be like the same kind of darkness. Put the lights on in here. And I'm going to do the same thing with white. Right now I'm doing it with black or very dark color. Now I'll go back in. Here's a boat. Here's that boat, kind of brownish. Get a little bit of red into my black, and that makes a nice purple, brown. Like I said before, this is not a hyper-realistic painting. It's a impressionistic painting. And so I go in there rapidly and I just do large areas and simplify areas. I don't go in and do every little detail. This would be kind of fun to do that too, but that's not me. That's not the way I paint. I don't paint hyperrealism. But somebody that does, this could be pretty cool, I think, also. And I'm putting in some darks here so that I can lay my white over that. Because I will actually be putting white in here and then getting back some of the reflections and highlights that you can't get unless you put masking fluid down to keep the paper white. But that's, that takes too long for me. So I'm just going to make it dark and then put white on top of the dark so it pops out. Here's a little writing on the door. There's a little sign over here. Let's see how that looks. Not too bad. Getting there. And since we only have 5 minutes left, we will get it done. Go over here now and just do a little bit of the side of this shelf here, just to get a little bit of identity of how this shelf works here. Not going to be too careful with it. I just want to have it just barely noticeable that there's a shelf like this over here too, and actually it comes down here. I'm kind of making it out of focus too. You see how I'm making it kind of out of focus? What does that mean? That means that I leave it wet in the wet. I leave it wet and let the paint just let the paint soften itself. Okay, now time for my gouache. So that's a little bit of gouache right there I just put in. And this is where some people say, no, David, don't do it, don't do it, don't use gouache. You don't have to. You don't definitely don't have to. You can just if you wanted to do that and get a light there, you just have to put masking fluid in first. This is my practice for my kind of style that I want to come across in someday. And so let's put a nice, so I'm going a little bit thicker now. I'm going with a little bit more opaqueness to my watercolor. And I'm using watercolor. I'm not using my gouache yet, though I should probably. See if I use a little bit of gouache, it'll fill better. Not feel better, it'll fill the painting better because it covers up what's underneath a lot better when you're using gouache because it's opaque and it will not show what's underneath it. Where watercolor is transparent and that will show everything underneath it, like the paper itself. Let's put a little bit darker here. This is so fun. I'm glad I got to finally do this picture. I've been wanting to do this picture a long time, let me tell you. I've been teaching here quite often for a long time. And this scene, always, every time I leave and I look at it, I'm like, wow, I got one of these days, one of these days. And I want to do it on the spot too, because I've been learning how to do plein air so much. And it's fun to see the original, not the photograph. The photograph is fine, but it's just nice to see the original of it. All right, let's make this shiny or darker on the bottom here so that it makes the light look lighter. And this can be the same on top here, the body of this creature. Now let's use our white. Now let's get into our white because we are getting very short on time, 3 minutes. So I'm just going to take pure white. I squeezed out some pure white this morning. And so I will go in here and then just the lights in here that are on. Actually, the top part of this chandelier is also light. So see, I'm just using white paint, getting it back. And again, this could be done with masking fluid before you start. Boom, 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 little dots here and there. Then the subject or the pottery is kind of light. It's reflecting some light. And I'm not going to do every piece really perfectly. There's just a bunch of pieces of ceramic that the kids paint and some adults paint. And they fire it up with a beautiful glaze. And so you can have your birthday party here for your kids or adults. You can do paint parties here. The side of this side here is going to be, the side of this is a little bit lighter. Let's make this light darker. Let's make this a little bit darker. Show the shape of this object. And again, when you want to leave something out of focus, just keep it soft. You don't have to explain everything in your picture. Now there's these little dots here too in this little guy. Oh, not too bad, huh? Oh, 9:30. Is it 9:30? Exactly. Let's see. What time is it? 9:30. All right. So anything else that you see? Let me just, a couple of things here. And we can go over a little bit. I don't want to go too far over, but a little bit. That's, pretty decent for 16 by 20 painting. This is a little bit larger. Like I said, I wanted to go larger today and just try to see how I can do larger and still keep the same effect especially outdoors or plein air painting. Because to me, this is plein air painting because I'm actually at the spot. I'm not going looking at a photograph. I'm looking at what's in front of me, and of course I made up the shadowing, but that doesn't mean that I can't still look at what's here and use that to make my other parts. You know, it's good to see the original. Original, it's amazing how much different it is when you look at compared to a photograph. You know, yes, the photograph, the photograph I took of the scene that I used to draw this from this morning or yesterday, actually, because I did it because I didn't have enough time to sit there this morning and draw this all up, which I should have, but it's fine. I stand up here for a second and just make this a bit darker right there. Couple of things, and I'm going to work on this a little bit more after I'm done here, just to kind of tighten things up. And that goes over here. There's a little railing for this. This is the rail for the garage door. That's a garage door garage door that we opened had opened when they used to have the Fiesta days here, and right, and then make this a little bit darker. There's actually a shelf up here. That's where I used to put the paint party paintings. All right, there we have it, guys. And like I said, you basically get that sense, right? You get the sense of the scene, the sense of the light coming through, right? And I can keep on going and more detailed, but pretty much you start that way, you go big down to small. And so there you have it. There we have a great Sunday, everybody. And check back on Thursday, next Thursday, for our paint along, where you can paint along. Now, of course, this is not a paint along. This is just me practicing and showing you. But if you feel like you can try this or want to try it, just take snapshots of this screen and go ahead, try it. You know, it's no big deal. I don't mind. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you on Thursday. Bye bye.